Okay, so that's the coverage of what we call chapter 12. We doesn't include the colloid in our what we call chapter 12. Okay, and we have not done the exam yet, but it will be similar to your Gen Chem 1 exam, whether you are from me or from Dr. Macy's Gen Chem 1 lecture. Okay, because we're still playing around with what we call the classes that we have. Okay, because from what we did initially, your exam at this time is, if I'm not mistaken, it would be all multiple choice or fill in the blanks type. Okay, there are some stuff that we're not able to do in classes that we used to do in Blackboard. Okay, so you will know about the type of the exam maybe as we going to come up with these chapter quizzes. So you will have chapter quizzes, maybe the earliest will be during the weekend. So you will be emailed about it. Okay. So the exam will be similar to those chapter quizzes. So there will be this is the one that I'm going to replace with the assignment because my eyesight is getting worse from too much exposure on computer, and grading the assignments would usually take me time around 2 hours to do it. So instead of doing that, you're just going to have the so-called chapter quizzes. Okay. So the chapter quizzes will cover one chapter quizzes for chapter 11, one for chapter 12, and then one for chapter 13. Now, in one of them, you are going to use lockdown respondus as trained for your what we call exam. You will still take the exam in lockdown, respondus lockdown. Okay. So we're going to start now with
Are the quizzes going to be on lockdown as well?
only one.
Okay.
Okay. One just like a trial. Although I still have to ask my big boss if he wants it to be in the lockdown. But if I will be the one to have a choice, I prefer not to do it in a lockdown because that's my insurance. Okay, in case something happen to your scores in the exam, I always want to have insurance. Okay. It will be emailed to you, so you will have a time frame about it. So watch out for the email before Tuesday. Definitely, you're going to have one quiz. So maybe a chapter 11 quiz between now and Tuesday, and then a chapter 12 quiz between Tuesday and Thursday, and then another quiz between what we call Thursday and Tuesday next week to prepare you for the first exam. So most likely the third quiz is the one, or maybe the second quiz will be the one that has the lockdown responders. So I will know what's the problem because this is the first time that we're going to do lockdown in classes. Okay. So what we're going to do today is a new chapter. It's about the chapter on kinetics. So before we're going to what we could talk about kinetics, I just like to ask a question here. I just like to ask your input about it. So they say chemical kinetics is one area which you can get rich. I put that question mark. By the way, those in my lab, okay, the attendance that I have there is just a way for me to record who goes to the record, what we call in person. So if you're not present in the in person, what's the other option that I have there? The only option I have is present or absent. So why are you emailing me freaking out? Lab attendance is not one of the grades in the lab. So you don't have to worry about it. What you have to worry is if you don't have quizzes, if you don't submit lab reports, so that's the one that you're going to worry. So most of you said true. Okay. Now those who answered true, why did you say you can get rich in kinetics? Anyone? The 43 students who say they can get rich in kinetics, why do you say you can get rich in the kinetics? Anyone? So usually, if we're going to look at kinetics, before we go to the kinetics, the first step that we need to learn is the thermo. Okay. Now, thermodynamic would ask questions, does a reaction takes place? If the answer is yes, the next question is what? A kinetic type. And if you are asked a kinetic question, usually the question would be how fast does a reaction proceed? Okay. So the first question that you're going to ask in every chemical system is, does the reaction takes place? And if the answer is yes, the next question is where we go with the so-called kinetics. Now, kinetics is the area or the study of the reaction rates, including how reaction rates change with varying conditions and which molecular events occur during the overall reaction. So if you're going to look at the kinetics, this is the area of chemistry where you can get rich. Because it deals with what? Making the reaction fast or slow. Now, this weekend is Valentine's Day. I would just like to ask you a question. If you want to put out a product, which has a large market, the ladies or the gentlemen?
Ladies.
Ladies.
Huh?
The ladies have a larger market.
Okay. So let's,
No,
for
gentlemen.
instance, if you want to put out a beauty product, which beauty products are more? Those for the ladies or for those gentlemen?
The ladies.
For me, the beauty products that I have is just what? To shave and to make my hair black or to dye my hair. Other than that, I don't know.
I
Okay.
don't know. Some good marketing. You might have some like on tap potential in the guy market.
But if you're going to look at the ladies, what do you have? There's a lot, right? The lipstick industry is really a big industry. What else? The beauty products. Whenever they see a wrinkles, what do? I don't know if you're familiar with this term. Have you heard the term? Botox?
Yeah. Yeah.
Botox in the wrong place will kill you. Because Botox use a toxin, okay? Botox is the short for the botulinum toxin. And botulinum toxin, a drop of that in the water supply will wipe out humanities. Because why do you think Botox is used in the beauty products? It paralyzes the muscle. Okay? So Botox in the wrong place will going to kill you. Why? Why do you want to get the Botox, Brandon? You have wrinkles already?
To get rid of the fine lines.
Botox in the heart will kill you. Botox in other what we call part of the body will kill you. Okay? Botox is one of the most dangerous item or one of the most dangerous toxin. And what do? It slow down the process. Okay. Now another thing where you can make rich is you can find it in New York. If you find something that makes metal not corrode, you're going to be rich. Because corrosion is what we call a spontaneous process. Whatever you're going to do, it will happen. The only thing for you to what we call prevent it from happening is to slow down the process. So if you can find a process or a material that prevents corrosion, then don't forget me, okay? For bonuses, for giving you that idea. Because chemical kinetics really is just hastening or slowing down a given process. So if you are in the business that you have something, or like let's say some material that you wanted to grow fast, all you need to do is find something to make the reaction faster. Just like animal industry. So what do they do in the animal industry? They apply some subtherapeutic level of antibiotics because what it do, it improve the flora and fauna of the stomach of the chicken, and it absorb the nutrients right away, making it grow faster. Okay. And if you are also in the food industry, what's the main problem of these what we call vegetables and fruits? They always get deterioration, or they get deteriorated, they get rotten. So if you can prevent that from slowing down, then that's a very good what we call money. So there's a lot of what they call opportunities if you want to get rich in chemical kinetics, but all you need to do is study the science behind it. Okay, so when we're talking about chemical kinetics, we look at the so-called rate of reaction. So if you look at this rate of the reaction, this is just the change in concentration over the change in time. Now, there are some factors that affect the rate of reaction. The concentrations of the reactant, the concentration of the catalyst. So usually, the reactant, they will only, we could say, has a faster reaction if there are more concentration. And if you have a catalyst, so this is any material that makes the reaction faster, the higher the concentration of that catalyst, okay, the faster is the rate of the reaction, or the higher is the rate of the reaction. Now, the temperature, how does it affect the rate of reaction? So usually it has something to do with the collision. So higher temperature is a measure of your kinetic energy. So if you increase the temperature, it will increase the kinetic energy. So most likely the reactants will collide with one another. So the same thing with the surface area. Okay, so the greater the surface area, or the smaller the particle size, the higher is the rate of the reaction. So these are just some factors that affect the rate of the reaction. So if you're going to look at the rate of the reaction or reaction rate, this is just either an increase in the molar concentration of the product or a decrease of the molar concentration of the reactant per unit time. So if you're going to look at the reaction rate, we have A producing B. So what happened? With time, which one increases? So if we're going to look at the rate here, if we're going to write the rate of the reaction here, we can write it as delta A over T times negative. And the other one is rate equals to delta B over delta T. Now the question, why is one negative and the other one is positive? So usually when you look at the reaction rate, Okay, you look at instances where you look at different time and look at their concentration. So if you're going to look at this change in delta A over change in delta T, what really happened here is the concentration of A, okay, at a certain time minus the concentration of A, or just A, initial time. So I just put here initial over a certain time minus initial time. The same thing with B. So the concentration B at a given time over or minus B at initial time over the given time minus the initial time. So why do you think this is needed? So if you're going to look at the reaction, after some time, the concentration of A what? Decreases. B on the other hand, as A is being used, it produces B. So if you're going to look at this concentration here, the concentration of this is what? Lower than the concentration at the initial time. So if that is the case, what will happen to the value that you will get this in this operation? It will be what? Negative or positive sign? It will give you a negative sign. So to make the rate positive, you have to multiply that negative sign with a negative. Does that make sense? Anyone? Hello?
Yes, makes sense.
Is that clear why we put a negative when with respect to the reactant? Okay, because if we're going to look at the change, what happened is the concentration of A after certain time is less than, and you multiply it with something that is greater than, so you're going to get a negative value there. But you cannot have a negative rate. So what do you do? Okay, you're going to what we're not talking about energy here. We're talking about the concentration here. Okay, so what do we do to make the rate into a positive? We're going to multiply it with a negative sign. Okay. Now, try for instance here. If we're going to look at this reaction rate. So you have a reaction here wherein you have 2 moles of nitrogen, dinitrogen pentaoxide, producing 4 nitrogen dioxide and 2 and oxygen. So you can look at the reaction rate from the perspective of each reactant and each product. Okay? If you look at it from the perspective of oxygen, you look at it as the rate on the oxygen formation. So it's the change of oxygen over change in time. If you look at it in terms of the NO2 formation, you look at it in the perspective of NO2. Okay? So it's the rate of formation of NO2 over change in time. Now, if you look at it in the perspective of the reactant, okay, so what do you know? Your reactant decreases with time. So you look at it in terms of the decomposition of N2O5 and you put there a negative. Okay? Analyze. Before we go to the so-called reaction stoichiometry. Because the next thing that we're going to look at is, how are we going to relate each of them with one another? Do you expect them to have the same rate? The answer is yes if they have the same mole ratio. Now, what happens if they don't have the same mole ratio? How are you going to look at it? So you're going to look at it in the perspective of A, okay, producing B of B. And then what are we going to do here? Okay, so whatever the value of A and whatever the value of B, we're going to get the reciprocal of it. So if we're going to write the relationship between A and B here, so how are we going to write the reaction rate of A? So we're going to write it in terms of rate equals to, I told you, the reciprocal of the change in A over change in T. And what else is missing? Anyone? I'm missing the negative. Now, in terms of B, it will be rate equals to 1 of B times change in concentration of B over change in time. Analyze. So what does this mean? So whatever your stoichiometric ratio or whatever is your number here of moles, when you write the expression and you relate it with another reactants or the products that it has in the system, all you need to do is get the reciprocal of the given stoichiometric ratio. Is that clear? Because how are we going to relate now the rate of formation of oxygen with the rate of formation of NO2 and the rate of decomposition of N2O5? We apply that formula that we have there. So in doing that, what will happen? How do we get that? Okay, so we can use it and express it in this term. Do you see this? So oxygen, you only have 1 there. So 1 over 1 is what? It's 1. So you don't write it. Now this one, 4NO2, so that's 1 over 4. It's still positive because it's in the product. But for the reactant, you put there the negative and get the reciprocal of this one. So what does this tell us? What is the interpretation that we have here? So for every mole of oxygen, there's 2 moles. For every mole of oxygen that form, there's 2 moles of N2O5 that's decomposed. And for every 4 moles of nitrogen dioxide that form, there's 1 mole of oxygen that is also formed. So to apply this concept that we have here, let's try to use this in this problem. So you have peroxide disulfate ion oxidizes iodide ion to triiodide. So 3I minus, okay, to I3 minus. So how is the rate of the reaction that is expressed as the rate of formation of I3 minus related to the rate of the reaction of I minus? So how are we going to do this? So it will be the rate of, how are we going to write the 2 rate? Anyone? So how are we going to write the rate here? Compared to the rate of this one. So maybe this one is easier. We can just put it as what? delta I3 minus over delta T. It's 1/1 here, and it's positive because it is a product. Now for this one, if we follow the one that we have, it is a negative and 1/3 delta I minus over delta T. So if we're going to relate it, we could just say for every 1 mole of I3 that was formed, okay, there's 3 moles of I minus that was decomposed. So how are you going to express now if I write it in terms of what is the equivalent now of your triiodide? So how will I make this true? How will I make this side, okay, to become this and express it with respect to this one? What will I do? How did I go there? Because how did I go there? That's what I'm going to do on this side. So what did I do? I multiply it by what? -3, right? So that's the same thing that I'm going to put here. So that means this will become negative. Because that's the only way this one is canceled out. So if I want, okay, to look at the rate of the formation of my iodide, so that means there should be 3 triiodide that decompose for every 1 mole of my iodide. Did you get that? It's just a math, okay? And that's the problem. For me, it's just a math, but for you, your whole problem is the math. So you're going to multiply, whatever you multiply on one side, you're going to do this on the other side. Okay, and I think you have some problem on that in your chapter quiz. Yes. Okay, so find time to practice that thing. I think you have some question on that in your OWL B2. Now, let's look at the other item that we have here, reaction rates. But this is in terms of the so-called the average rate and the instantaneous rate. So the equation that we have here will give you the average rate over the time interval. As the time or the change in time decreases and approaches 0, the equations gives you the instantaneous rate. So if we're going to look at here, look at this. So if we're going to look at the average rate here, they say it's just the slope of the hypotenuse of the triangle that forms. So usually we could say this is your average rate. But what can you say about the average on this average rate on this part and this part. Are they the same? Is the average rate the same? Yes or no? Is the average rate at this 2 point the same? The answer is, of course, no. Where is it faster? Here? Or here? Where is it faster? Is it in A or in B?
A.
Okay. So it is faster in, is it faster in A or in B? If you are in doubt, you have there your table. So based on the table, it is faster in what? A or B? Okay. So if you're going to look at this one, it is faster in A compared to what we call B. Now, what could be the reason? Why do you think it's initially fast and then it slow down? Why? Why do you think it's initially fast and then it slow down? So just like if you're monitoring it in a solution, like your experiment 15, so initially it's dark and then it will just become lighter. Okay. So the main reason why is it faster initially is because we have a lot of concentration. There are a lot of reactions that can take place. But as the reactant concentrations goes down, the rate also go down. But if you're going to look at the so-called average rate, you can just consider it from here going here. Now, the A and B here, that could represent as your what we call instantaneous rate. Okay? Just like what we're traveling from what? New York to where the impeachment trial right now, DC. So from NY to DC, okay? So let's say how long you travel from NY to DC if you drove your car. If you're going to drive your car there, how long it will take you? Usually, what, 4 hours, 5 hours? Or maybe 2 hours if you have a sports car, like a student that were accompanied and promised myself that I'm not going to ride with him again. Okay, you see, was able to get DC in just 2 hours, but we're flying in the express. Now, if you're going to look at that, so that would be the average rate. But if you're going to look at the speed, let's say going out of New York, it's a little bit slower compared when you are in New Jersey going to DC. The traffic is different there. So that we could say is some sort of your instantaneous rate. And the way that you look at it, okay, instantaneous rate is the speed as a given instant, and it would not be the same as much as possible. And as you could see here, as the delta t gets smaller and approaches 0, the hypotenuse becomes a tangent line at a point. But what is important here is the slope of this tangent line. That is your rate at that point or at that instant. Okay, so that is your instantaneous rate. And usually, the way that they look at this, sometimes they said instantaneous rate and reaction rate is just the same. But I hope you understand the difference between the two. Instantaneous rate is just the rate that you get at a given instant. Okay. And here you have a problem. Calculate the average rate of formation of oxygen in the following reaction during the time interval from 1200 seconds to 1800 seconds, given the concentration at 1200 seconds of oxygen at 0.0036 and at 1800 seconds 0.0048. So if you're going to look at this, this is just getting the reaction rate. What is the concentration of oxygen with change in time? So what you have here is the concentration of oxygen at 1800 seconds minus the concentration of oxygen at 1200 seconds. And then you divide it with the corresponding time that you have. So if you're going to replace it, so you will have with what? 0.0048 minus 0.0036 divided by 1800 minus 1200. So what do you get there? I think you have there 0.0012 over 600, right? So this is just equals to 2.0 times 10 to the what? Anyone?
Six.
10 to the negative? Negative what? Is it negative or positive? Negative? 6. Everybody got that? So these are the easy one. So question. Question. Now, let's try to look at this concept check. So shown here is a plot of concentration of reactant D versus time. So how do the instantaneous rate at points A and B compare? Are they the same? What can you say about A and B? A is what? Faster or slower than B?
Faster.
So A is faster than B because A has what? If you're going to look at this, the slope is a little bit steeper compared to what we call with B. Now, is the rate for this reaction constant at all in time? Yes or no?
No.
No. Now, how do you make it constant? How does the reaction look like if you want it to be constant? So maybe it's around like this, right? So this is A, this is B, and then you have a straight line. Am I right? So maybe if it's like a straight line here, I cannot make a straight line. So in that case, you could say the reaction rate is constant in time. Is that clear? Question?
Are you gonna put examples of this on?
I'm not sure if I can put because usually we have already discussed that thing.
Sorry, thank you.
And this is the easy stuff. So usually if it's the easy one, I don't put additional slides. Okay, because it's just like a plug and play type of questions. So all you need to do is what? Get the final concentration, subtract with the initial concentration, divide with the final time over the initial time. So I don't know how to make it complicated anymore. Okay, so I only do the complicated one. The simple one, I think one thing is enough. And you always have your what we call OWL for more examples there. because there are a lot of complicated calculations that we have in this chapter. So these are the easy ones at this time. Now, you might wonder, how did we get the reaction rate? So some of you will have that opportunity in experiment 15, okay? You determine the rates of reaction experimentally, okay? And there are several ways where you can do. The one that you do in the reaction, in the experiment, you just monitor the fading of the crystal violet when it is mixed with your sodium hydroxide. So that's just one. Now there are other things that we have. So one here they said is measuring light absorbance when a color change is part of the solution. So that's the crystal violet experiment that you're going to do in the lab. Okay. Another one is you can monitor. What do you monitor when you have this so-called manometer? Anyone? What can you monitor when you have the instrument called manometer? Anyone?
Pressure?
Okay. Pressure. So you're going to look here the pressure of N2O5, NO2, and oxygen. Because all of them are in gas form. So each of them will exhibit, okay, their own what we call pressure. So if the pressure increases, that means you have more of the item. If the pressure decreases, you have less of the item. So that's another way for you to determine the reaction rate. So you monitor one of them. But I think the easiest one is by color, like this crystal violet reacting with NaOH. So it forms a CBH plus or complex that is not violet. Okay. Now, if we're going to convert the reaction rate into this what we call rate law, okay? What does this mean? How do we get this so-called rate law? So initially, what do we have? If we have here the reaction rate. So rate here is equals to what? What can we say about the rate with respect to the oxygen? Can we say it is dependent on whatever is, I'm trying to look at the original. So this is the reaction for that. But what we have here is we monitor the changes that we have in terms of the oxygen. Now, what can we say about the rate? Can we say it's dependent on oxygen? Or we could say the N2O5. So how do we, what we call plot the N2O5? So if this one is increasing, okay, if we monitor it in terms of N2O5, maybe it's like this. It's decreasing with time. So the concentration of N2O5, and this is, we could say, the time. So if we're going to look at the rate, what can you say? It is dependent on N2O5. Now, what can we say about the rate? It is also faster here compared to this one. Do you follow on that? The instantaneous rate at A is faster compared to what we call B. So in that case, what can we do? what if we're going to plot it in terms of rate versus the BR2 or BR2 and rate? How does our plot would look like? Anyone? So if I'm going to have a plot where this is time, this is my N2O5, so what will happen? The rate will be like this. So what can you say about the relationship between the rate and the concentration of your N2O5? Are they proportional? Are they directly proportional? The more N2O5, the faster the rate or the higher the rate of the reaction? Is that true? Is this true?
Yes.
Do you follow me? Now, what will I do? Instead of that thing, what can we say with A, B, C, and D? What happened to the rate from A going to D? Does the rate increases, decreases, or the same? Anyone? Does the rate increases, decreases, or the same? The rate decrease. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I want to look at the relationship of BR2, or not BR2, N2O5 and rate. So what do you think is the relationship that I have here? So what do I do? I'm going to get the data that I have here with the rate. So where do you think if I'm going to plot it like this? What would be the relationship that they have there? The rate is what? As you could say, dependent on your reactant. Okay? So that means as the concentration of your N2O5 increases, the reaction rate would also increase. Now, what do you think is the slope that we're going to call here? What it is the one that we have rate over N2O5? What can you say about them? Are they constant? Is the slope constant for this? Yes or no? Okay, how about the others? Is the rate constant here? The answer is yes. And that's what we call the rate constant. Okay, and usually we designate it as small k. And if we're going to get the rate law here, we could say rate is just equals to k times N2O5. So I'm trying to introduce to you from the reaction rate, the so-called rate law. And this is what we call the rate law. Right? Because that's where we jump. So I'm trying to relate to you how the reaction rate becomes like a plot for your rate constant. And from that, you can get your rate law. Okay? So where did we get the K from here? When we plot the N2O5 with the respective rate. So we say here, if rate is dependent on the concentration of your reactant. So if you're going to plot it here, you can get your rate constant. So let's go back to the slide. So we're talking about rate law. So it says here, the reaction rate usually depends on the concentration of one or more reactant. So this relationship must be determined by the experiment. And this is captured by the rate law. It's an equation that relates the rate of a reaction to the concentration of a reactant and catalyst raised to various powers. And the proportionally constant is the rate constant. So I showed you there in our plot how you get the rate constant. Now the question now is, what is this rate law all about? Okay, so reaction rate, or you just say rate, is just this. Or this. So this is for the reactant, this is for the product. Now rate law is different. Okay, so rate law, if we're given the generic reaction like this one, you write the rate law in terms of this. Now what can you say? A, B, and C are not found here, right? What you found here is M, N, and P. Now you may ask yourself, what is that? What is that M, N, and C? What that M, N, and P? So those are the so-called reaction order with respect to a given reactant. So you cannot get it from a given reaction. You are going to determine it experimentally. Okay? And when you add M plus N plus P, you will get the overall order. So the reaction order, that's the M and P values. So those are raised to a certain what? First order, second order, third order, which you're going to learn as we go on. So this reaction order with respect to specific reactant is the exponent of that species that we will determine experimentally. So you can only obtain M and P experimentally. This is not given in the reaction. Okay? And if you add all of them, you have the so-called overall order. So let's try an example here. So you're given this rate law. So what does this mean? So this means the value of your M here is equals to 1 and the value of your N there is equals to 1. So what does a value or a reaction order equals to 1 mean? So it means it's a first order reaction. So if you're given this rate law, the way you're going to interpret this is NO2 is first order with respect to F2 and F2 is first order with respect to NO2. And if you're going to determine what we call explain or interpret it experimentally, when the concentration of NO2 doubles and F2 remains constant, the overall rate also doubles. And if F2 concentration doubles, okay, the rate constant or the rate of the reaction will also doubles. So that's what the interpretation of this means. And if you're asked what's the overall order that you have there, 1 and 1, so you have it overall, the reaction is second order. It is first order in each of the reactant. Now, another thing we could say that rate law that you have, it only involves reactant. Rate of reaction, you can have a reactant, you can have the product, but rate law is exclusively for the reactant. Now let's try another one. So hydrogen peroxide oxidizes iodide ion in acidic solution. So you have this reaction here. So the rate law for the reaction is rate equals to K H2O2 and I minus. Now you may ask yourself, why the hell this one is not included? Because I just mentioned the rate law just covers all the reactant. So if we're going to interpret here, what is H2O2? What's the order of H2O2? Anyone? What's the order of H2O2 with respect to the other reactant? Is it what? 0 first, second order, third? So since it's
First.
written there, and no number is written, it's assumed to be 1. It's assumed to be first order. How about the iodide? What is the order of iodide with respect to the other reactants? Anyone? Because you're asking, what is the order of the reaction with respect to each reactant species? So what is I minus? What is H2O2? And what is the order of H plus? So what is this? What is the order here of I minus? Anyone? Hello? Why is I minus first order? Anyone? Why is I minus first order? Because there's no number and it's written there. If there's no number, it's assumed to be 1. If it's not written, what is the order? 0. You have an H plus there, but it's not written, so it's a 0 order. Now, what is the overall order?
Second.
Okay, 1 plus 1 will give you second. Question. Can you identify or can you answer the question, what is the order of the reaction if you're given the rate law? Because in just this one, you cannot what we call answer it already. What more if we are asked to write the rate law? So let's say I have a rate law like this. What is the order of the reaction of NO2 with respect to O2? So what is the order of NO2? Anyone?
It would be first.
Second.
What is the order of NO2 if I have this rate law? Anyone? It's a second order. Why is it the second order? Because you have there the number 2. How about O2? What's the order of O2 with respect to each reactant species or with respect to NO2? It is what
First.
order?
First order.
It's the first order. Okay? Now, let's try to get the experimental way. How did we end up with this? Or how do we end up, let's say, if we end up with the rate law here. So as I have told you, you have to determine this experimentally. Okay. So if you have a rate law, the thing that you're going to do is, if you have reactants or catalysts, what you're going to do is you make the concentration of one species change while the other species or the other reactants remains the same, and see what happened to the reaction rate. So the easiest way for you to do this is you double the concentration of one reactant while the other reactants are constant concentration. So see what will happen to the initial rate of reaction. Okay? So the way that you're going to do this experimentally, if you have reactant A, reactant B, so that means you need how many setup? You need at least 2 setup. One setup is one of this and then 2 of this, and let's say maybe this is 1 and 1. And then the other setup is 1 of this and this one is 2. And you're going to see what is the initial rate that happened here to get, let's say, M. And then what's the initial rate here? So you're going to compare the first and the third setup to get the value of N. Okay, so that's the rate. So let's try this example. So this only have one reactant. So you only have 2 setup. And what is that setup? Where the concentration of the reactant doubles or increases. So what happened to the rate? So you can put here 2.0 times 10 to the 2 divided by 1.0 times 10 to the negative 2 equals to 9.6 times 10 to the negative 6, 4.8 times 10 to the negative 6. So what do you have? What's the value that we get here? This is 2, and this is what? Anyone? Question, how are we going to interpret this? Anyone? How are we going to interpret this? Anyone? Hello?
That none of the compound is lost.
No. What's the simplest concentration here? Can we just say that if we double the concentration, the rate also doubled? How about the others? Hello? Are you with me? Or you will still wait for the first exam results and then you're going to be with me? Do you agree that the simplest information that we get here, you double the concentration, you double the rate?
Yes.
Okay? So how can we make this statement if we put an M here? What would be the value of that M for this relationship to be true?
1.
1. And what does the M represent here in our discussion? If you are with me since at the beginning. M is your reaction order. So if I'm going to ask you, how am I going to write the rate law here? So rate is just equals to what? K equals to the concentration of N2O5. That's the rate law. Now ask yourself, Professor, how did we get that? How did I get that? So we look at this reactant. How many you look at the reaction, how many reactants do you have?
One.
One. So that means most likely this is your reactant. Now the next question that you're going to ask yourself, what is its reaction order? Now the question, where did I get the reaction order here? Anyone? Where did I get the reaction order here? What do you think we use this table for? What is the use of this table? I'm asking the question, I'm giving the answer, and you still not connect with it. Isn't it this table the reason why I get this relationship? And isn't this relationship is the reaction order that I need?
Yes.
Anyone? The main reason why I put this material here, because that's the only reactant that I have. Now, the main reason why I didn't write anything here, because the reaction order is equals to 1. Where did I get that? I look at the change in the concentration. So the interpretation that I have here, I double the concentration, I double the rate. So that means that's a first order. Okay? Let's try another one. So if we're going to look at the rate law before we try another one, these are the things that will happen. Examining the effect of doubling the initial concentration gives us the order in the reactant. When the rate is multiplied by 1/2, your reaction order is -1. So what does it mean? You double the concentration, the initial rate becomes 1/2. You double, but the rate becomes half. So the reaction order there is -1. Okay? And then when the rate is multiplied by 1, M is equals to 0. What does it mean? Even if you change the concentration, the rate remains the same. Okay? So you double the concentration, the rate remains the same. Now, when you double the concentration and the rate is doubles also, the reaction rate is 1. And if the rate was 4 times, when you double the concentration, the M is equals to 2. How does it happen? So if I'm going to put it in terms of this one, let's say I put 2 everything here. So when does 2 raised to the M will be equals to 1/2? When is 2 raised to the M equals to 1? When is 2 raised to the M equals to 2? And when is 2 raised to the M equals to 4? Isn't those values of M here? Look at it.
Yeah.
Do you follow? So let's try. So if you're going to look at this, the initial drop of your rate law is what? Rate equals to K N O M O2 N, right? Do you follow? So what do you need to get? M and N. So what's the technique, as I have told you? If you want to get M, okay, you have two reactants here. If you want to get the reaction rate of one reactant, you keep the other reactant constant concentration, while the other one that you're looking for is double, and look at the initial rate. So what setup we can use to get M? Experiment what? Is it 1 and 2?
1 and 2.
Okay. So that means this is constant. So all we need to do is divide this number with that number, divide this number with that number. So you will have what? 2 equals to, what do you get here? 0.11, 2 divided by 0.289. So maybe I have to write it 0.20250 over 0.0125 equals to 0.112 over 0.0281. So what do you get? 2, and this one is what?
4.
And then you put the M there.
So M equals 2.
So M is equals to 2. And we can put this now as 2. So the next one, the N. So which setup we're going to use?
One and three.
Okay,
2
we're
and
going
3.
to
1 and
use
3.
1 and 3.
1 and 2.
So in that case, you're going to have 0.0506 over 0.0253 equals to 0.0561 over 0.0281. So this is again 2, and this is what? What do you get here? Is it 2?
Yes, 2.
So we put here the N. So what is the value of N to make it true?
1.
1.
So in that case, we have it right here. Now, this is a coincidence. You might say, oh, I get it. This one comes from here and this one comes from here. That's not the right one. This is just a coincidence. Is that clear?
Yes.
Maybe some of you will say, oh, there's a 2 here and there's a 1 here. So maybe that's the way you get it. The answer is no. As I have told you, the rate law is determined experimentally. So this is your rate law. Now, there's still what we call the one thing that you're being asked. You're asked to get the rate constant. So how are you going to do that? So you're going to use the rate law, and then in each of the experiment, okay, you're going to input the value. So you're going to rearrange this thing in such a way k is on one side. So you will end up with what? K is equals to rate over NO squared O2. So what does this mean? You use the value in each of the experiment. You cannot mix and match because you like to do that. You cannot do that because it is wrong. Okay, so you have to what we call the compute each of them one by one. So for instance, for experiment 1, I have what? 0.0281 divided by 0.0125 squared times 0.0253. So that is equals to what? Try to do the calculation. And try to do for 2 and 3. Were you able to calculate? What's the value that you get when you do the calculation here? Anyone? What did you get for K? Point 0.0281 divided by 0.0125 square divided by 0.253. 4549? Nope. Okay, 7,000 something. I get 7.11. How about the second part here?
7.08.
So the one that I get here is around 7.8 times 10 to the 3. And this one is around 7.10 times 10 to the 3. So the K is at least close, if not the same, because it's a constant. Okay? That's what it means. So let's try another one. I'm going to get it from another lecture material that I have. Chapter 13. So let's try this one. No, not that one. Let's try this one. It's not in your notes. But how does our skeletal structure of the rate law looks like? So it could be rate. I think I have to make it into a slideshow so I can share it. So it would be what? Rate, K, NOM, H2N. Right? So what is M? So this one doubles, but the concentration is what? What happened when you double the concentration? What happened to the rate when you double the concentration?
The rate double.
Okay, so from this 5 and 0, okay, so 5 and 1.3, is that double? No, not. So this is what? 2, and this is equals to 4, right? Around 4. So that means your M is equals to 2. Do you follow? Now, how about the second one? So 10 over 5, and the other one would be 10 over 1.3. So that would be equals to what? Around 8, right? So that would equals to what? So this is 2. So what is N to make it equal to 8? Is it 4? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. If you say it's 4. So what is N? N is equals to 3. 2 to the third. So that means this one should be 4 over 2 here, right? Nope, I think I made a mistake. It should be 10 over 5 because we're looking at 2 and 3. Not 3 and 1 because they're changing also there. So we're looking at 2 and 3. So that's 4 over 2, and this is just 10 over 5. So this one is just 2. So this one is there. So you're okay how to get this? So you see where my mistakes is? I compare 1 and 3 when it should be 2 and 3. Because that's the one that has the same NO. So that means I need to compare these two. Okay? So, yeah, we did 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. Because 1 and 2 the same here. 2 and 3 the same here. So you have to make sure if you want to look at the reaction order, the one is changing, the one that you're looking for, while the other one is constant. Yep. So if we're going to get the K here again, you rearrange the stuff that you have here. So K is equals to rate over NO2, NO squared times H2. And you're just going to what we call substitute one of them. So let's say 1.3 times 10 to the negative 5 divided by 10.0 times 10 to the negative 3 squared, and then 2.0 times 10 to the negative 3. What did you get? To 60? So you get what? 1.3 exponent negative 5 divided by 10 exponent negative 3 squared times 2 exponent negative 3. I get around 2.5. Negative 3 squared times 2 exponent negative 3, around 260. Did you get that? So use whatever you use for 1, use it for 2, all the values of 2, for 3, all the values of 3, not mix and match. Try. So 5 exponent negative 5 divided by 10 exponent negative 3 squared times 2 exponent negative 3. Yeah, I get 254 here. So this is 260, this is 250, and the other is 10 exponent negative 5 divided by 10 exponent negative 3 squared times 4 exponent negative 3. So I get 250. Could you double check? Yeah, I get 260 for the first one. Yep, this one is wrong. So you have here 260, 250, 250. And the last that you have here, the rate of the reaction when NO2 is equal to this value. So what do? You have the rate, you put the K, so you can use the 250, okay? And then 12.0 times 10 to the negative 3 squared times 6.0 times 10 to the negative 3. So if that's the case, 250 times 12 exponent negative 3 squared times 6 exponent negative 3. So you will get around 2.2 times 10 to the negative 4. 2.16 if you want it specifically like that. Yep. You can just use any of the three there. So questions. So for those who have class other than this, you can log out already. For those who want to remain, we can spend until 2 o'clock if you want. But the recording will end at this time.
Thank you, Professor.